Good evening. Good evening, Ohio. Wabash Valley. Hey, Steve. Canada, eh?
Steve, I think you're going to be our first question up for tonight.
New York.
Hey, Sean.
Sean.
Hello from Thailand.
Thailand. Love Bangkok. Been there twice.
Give it another minute or so and get some more people in here.
State College. Montana. It's Noreen Firearms country. Right now I want Thai food.
I always want Thai food.
Tell you, once you go to Thailand and you try the food there, you come back, it's really hard to find anything that's just like it.
But I've never been to Thailand, so I'm screwed. I gotta take the American version.
But I love my Singha too. Northern Virginia. Alaska.
Okay, we're gonna get started. You can pop your question in the chat line, and I try to stay in order as best as possible. If you do make a donation during the chat, those questions do get priority, and skip the line, and you'll be the next up. When I'm done with pay questions, I go back up into the feed and pull questions. So if it's been a few minutes, please don't think that I'm going to miss your question. I do roll very far up to the top and try to carry on from the last place that I left so that we can get as many questions as answered as possible. If you guys would like to make a donation tonight, you can do so on DonorBox. That is our preferred method. You can get that link on smallarmsolutions.com, and you can put your question in the comment section of your donation, and I'll receive an email, and it will be the same thing. You'll get priority over all the questions that are being submitted tonight. You can also donate during the super chat. I know that's a lot easier for everyone. Google does take 30%, so just keep that in mind when you're making your donations. But either way, we're happy to have you, and thank you for joining us. And I did open it up for submitted questions earlier through DonorBox, so I think we only have 2 because I know the other guy, he has a rather lengthy one that, Chris, you're going to have to address later through email. So Justin, if you're in here, we will send you an email with yours because you have a few parts. Steve, you're first up. Thank you, Steve. My SIG 716i tread rifle has a barrel chamber caliber stamped 7.62 by 51, 7.62 NATO. Can 308 Winchester spec factory ammunition be fired safely in that rifle?
Yes, sir. I just had one, and I fired 308 and 7.62. Pretty much everything, anything you're going to find made in this country, there's no question it's going to be chambered for 308, anything for commercial use. I'm not quite sure. Last time I saw a 7.62 by 51 only chambered barrel. Maybe some surplus type guns, but not anything in current production.
Bill says hi from Katie. You're very close Katie. To us. Kirk, you're up next. He wants to know if there's been any update on the Centurion Arms 7.62 rifle, given COVID-19 and all of the gun sales that have been going on. Do you expect it in Q1 or Q2 of next year?
I've been trying to get hold of Monty for a couple of months, and I have had no luck getting, through email or through phones or through anything. So, that's a question that I always ask him because I'm waiting for a 308 rifle. Last time I believe it was Barrels that was holding him up. But he said it was going to be, relatively quick. He was going to have them. But to be perfectly honest, I just haven't been able to get a hold of them.
Is it just because the business is just booming right now, and I know it's not their relationship. They have a very good relationship, so it's not
Yeah.
that. But it could be that things are just so hectic and crazy right now, and their company was already probably hectic and crazy considering the uptick in.
I think he's growing a lot quicker than
yeah.
he ever anticipated.
So then you add on top of everything the current climate and people wanting to, buy ammunition and guns and all of these components and outfit their family. That could be a recipe for. I know his wife runs it too, and they're both pretty stretched to the limit. So hopefully we'll have an update for you soon on that. I am going to go ahead and pop the codes in here for Centurion that we have, just as a refresher in case anybody is looking for any Centurion components, because it will save you a few bucks. Okay, now I'm going to be scrolling up to the top. I'm going to start grabbing. What is your take on the effectiveness of AR pistols, and what barrel length do you recommend?
AR-15 pistols are not effective. The absolute barrel length I would go would be 10.3, 10.5. I would not go any lower. You go any lower than that, you sacrifice massive amounts of reliability, as well as most of all your benefits of having a high-powered rifle, because you're not burning hardly any of your propellant. That's why you get the big muzzle flashes on the unburnt propellant, and they don't work. The pressure curves are way too high. The gun's overworked. It can't work reliably under those pressures, which is why you don't see them used by any military. They are strictly a commercial entity, those small pistols.
And guys, don't forget to hit the like button. Any thoughts on the What Would Stoner Do 2020 KE15 polymer lowers?
Again, I've said in the past that I don't think Stoner would have done that. We're
really going to have to do a video on this.
He really, I don't believe for a minute. He was not. He used polymers, but not to the point that it would affect the durability or reliability of the weapon. He was into aluminums and polymers, and I also don't believe if What Would Stoner would do, he would have been doing it in 5.56. It would have been in 7.62 NATO. That's what he really wanted to build. That's where he really liked building. He wasn't a fan of 5.56. He was forced into 5.56.
Are the current prices for Colt genuine lowers warranted?
What's happening is Colt is so on and off when they're going to sell, or what they're going to sell to the commercial market, that anytime you see something you're wearing, this is going to be the last time. So quite frankly, I think it's a game. I think there's a lot of money that's being made through the dealers and whatnot, jacking those prices up, because Colt's not, so far as I know, they're not raising their prices. They're just putting stuff out sporadically. And of course, when they do that, and Colt's already said in the past, so we're not going to make for civilians any longer. Now they're coming back. I think that it's something that helps drive their sales, is that constant threat of it being the last. And as I said, those rise in prices are the same as ammo. It's not coming from the manufacturers; it's coming from the most, not so much even the distributors. It's coming to the dealers. Prices have gone up a little bit because manufacturers have added additional shifts and so forth, so it does raise some of the cost of production, but not like what you're seeing. That's supply and demand, and that's your dealers who are jacking those prices up.
This is another Centurion question. Do you have any idea when Monty will have complete uppers back in stock again? They've been out of stock for about 2 months.
I think he's building everything as fast as he can, as the parts come in. So I don't know if he's stocking anything right now. I think he's got so many orders, he's not stocking anything, to be honest with you. But again, I haven't talked to Monty in a few months, so I'm not sure what his situation is.
We'll reach out to him and see if we can get some answers for you guys, and maybe post them on the Facebook page, which is Small Arm Solutions, and Instagram, which is Small Arm Solutions, and of course to our Patreons when we have an update on that for you guys. Maybe even try reaching out to his wife and see if she has any insight. Chris, was there a big drop off in the M16 rifle lethality when they switched from the 1 in 14 twist to the 1 plus 12?
There was certainly a drop off because you added more stability to the bullet, and once you add more stability to the bullet, it yawed, a lot less. There was a difference. However, it was unavoidable due to the stability in the Arctic environment, which is stabilizing traces, which is you have to have that for the military. So yeah, there was a difference. I wouldn't say that it was major, but I do believe that it was noticeable.
Why did the stamped AR-12 never see any further development?
There's a lot of things that were way ahead of their time. There were things that You know, there wasn't really any kind of a requirement for. There were things that were developed out of more interest and curiosity than there was out of any requirement, and that's where that fell.
What do you think of the retro Glock P80?
That's interesting. I have one probably going to be here tomorrow. Brandon ordered a couple. Um, it's very interesting that Glock decided to do something like that. That sort of surprised me. Now, when you really look at the P80, you know they could not do the exact markings because of the German, or I'm sorry, the Austrian army. There are some proof marks in the location of where the P80 is on the slide is different. There was also proof marks that were on the left side of the grip towards the bottom. They're not going to be there on the newer one. So basically, what you have is a Gen 1 frame. The slide is obviously says P80. It does have the older style flat extractor, but it does not have the original antenna for finish because it's not done anymore. So it does have sort of an NDLC type finish on it. You know, it's not going to be the exact as a P80. You know, people who buy that just understand that. I think it's going to appeal a lot more to people who are going to like the grip because of the fact there's no finger grooves. The pebbling is if the texture is much different even than the Gen 5, but it's being priced at the same price as a regular Glock. So you'd be able to buy one of those and take it out and shoot the hell out of it and not worry about it. So it's not being overpriced at all. Yeah, you'll see a review on it. As I said, I got one coming up, coming in tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow. If not, it'll be early next week. So you will see a video.
Jason on Donor Box. Thank you, Jason. I bought a SIG 516 14.5 upper. They claim it's a military contract overrun. Any idea which military, and are there any parts I should get while they are readily available?
They have many military contracts, so I couldn't tell you which one. I will say that you know the parts are readily available. You're not going to have an issue with any of the parts. I mean, they use a standard AR bolt to get some. I do believe the SIG has some gas rings. That'd be a good idea. But quite frankly, I don't see you really going through any parts with it. It's a very durable design.
Nathaniel, can you explain the difference of a field gauge and no gauge for a 5.56?
Field gauge is one that's used more so by armors, which you know if your bolt doesn't if your bolt closes on that, you got a problem. The other one's more so it's more precise. The no go and the go gauges are used basically to armories only. The field is a little bit less sensitive, so if there's a problem, you're going to see it a lot quicker.
What is your favorite safety selector lever set?
I'm quite fond of the believe it or not, it's the Colt Canada, the one that has the short throw on the right. The other one that I do like is the Radiant Arms. What is it called? Radiant Arms. Oh, why is it slipping me? I've got one on a rifle right next to me right now. Talon, the Talon. It's nice and large. So those probably are be two of my favorites. I do like ambi.
I'm running a 20-inch upper on a 6920 lower. Do I have to change the buffer? I want to use the carbine stock.
I would recommend you go with the A5 one that's from Valtor. Now Colt does have one. They've sold it. Basically, it's a I think it's a 5 or 6 weight, but I've never seen them commercially available. The A5 was designed specifically to do what you're doing, and that's what I would be doing.
Can you do a video on the Colt 700 series like the Colt 723 and 727s like the Delta Force and Rangers used? I'm building a 723 clone and would like some info from the master.
Yeah, you know, it's possible that the reality is I don't have those guns to show you. So, you know, I get people who complain when you know when I talk about things I don't have to show you. You know, it certainly is a thought. You know, who knows? We could do something there at some point.
Eric on Donor Box. Thank you, Eric. He says, thanks for all the info. Do you have any thoughts or experience with Triarch? I'm looking to get a higher end upper and want to keep it a Texas company if possible.
No, sir. I can't say as I have. For the first time, I'm messing around with Radiant Arms. I'm not sorry, not Radiant, but the Texas Radical Firearms. The first time I'm messing around with that, which is a local Texas company.
I love the Texas pride. You know, normally as Americans, if you're, true and blue American, it's like you buy American. You don't buy, Chinese or anything like that. And it's like, no, Texans are like, no. We want to keep it super local. We want to be Texas companies.
Well, we have everything here.
I mean, even HEB, it's Texas brands. They advertise that. Pride is
Yes, it
real.
is.
I don't think Chris really realized it until he moved down here. How
I
strong
realize
it
it
is.
now.
Yeah, because you wanted one of those big flags to put on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "That's really cool," and it has a gun on it and says, "Come and take it." You can never do this in New York.
No.
Any idea why Stoner went with a single stage trigger in his AR design?
Oh, geez, back in those days, you didn't see double stage triggers, especially on semi-autos. That's a far more recent, over the last probably 30 years or so, we started seeing that. I can't really think of any military grade rifles I've ever seen with a double stage trigger. That's like I said, that's not really a combat type weapon. That's more of a DMR or a sniper type weapon.
What's your opinion of Excalibur barrels? They're a company that makes custom AR barrels. If you have an opinion, if not,
I don't. I've never used one.
What do you think of Facts and Firearms barrels?
Excellent. He does an absolute gorgeous job. I have several. I have them in rifle 5.56, 223 Wildy, and 308 Winchester, and 9mm. He does an absolute beautiful job. I highly recommend.
Origin 3P mags, the ones for M8 55A1 to not damage your gun.
Yes, they will not damage your gun. It has to be the Gen 3. Actually, I'm not sure. I haven't never tried them in the Gen 1s or Gen 2s, but the Marine Corps bought the Gen 3s, and they do work very well with the M855. They won.
Does AR 308 triggers need stronger springs for harder primers, or your standard AR triggers fine for the bigger 308 brothers?
Standard primers are about the same. Just because they're a little bit bigger doesn't mean there's much of a difference.
Nathaniel wants to know, gun store has an LE6944 for sale. Was thinking of getting that or something else like a Robinson Arms. What would you recommend between the two?
Well, to my left in front of me, I have an LE6944. I'm looking at it right now, and I highly recommend that. That is an excellent combat gun. Durability, reliability is there. The only thing I wish it was a SOCOM barrel, a heavier barrel, but I highly recommend the LE6944. To me, it's the ideal 14.5-inch barrel if you can't have a heavy barrel. Works great, free float barrel. Good, generally good Colt barrels. Absolutely.
Chris, I'm going to answer your question here about where to donate, where they don't take a portion of it. Donor Box is the best place. They only take 1.5%. So if you would like to donate where we receive the majority of it, that's the best place. Going back up to find my spot. Okay, no, I'm not. What do you think about Adam's Arms?
Well, they certainly were probably one of the first to really, commercialized, piston conversion kits. They had a very rocky issue with the Pasco County Sheriff's Department with not working. I've tested them in the past, and fortunately, the ones that I've gotten came right from Adam's Arms. The gas blocks were actually drilled and pinned, which especially you want with an external piston type system. The ones that I've used have been good. I've never used one of the drop-in kits. In fact, I have one that's on its way here. It's actually arrived today. I have to go pick it up from Brandon at the Gun in Shenandoah. It's a Core 15 with that system on it, and that's one of the ones that's clamp on. So we'll be running that thing full out, and we'll see how that one works. But overall, I've not had a lot of I've had decent luck with them. And after the company went bankrupt and resurfaced here, I understand the quality is good. I've actually been trying to get a hold of them to try to get one of their newer rifles. And with COVID, many of these companies don't even answer their phones anymore. We did do a review on a 308 that was based off of the. It was a Adams Arms piston system that was placed on the lower receivers that were based. They were the Gen 2 DPMS, which was sort of the AR-12, if you want to call it. That's the sort of they shrunk everything down. I had very good luck with that. When I shot it. So, personal experience, I've never had a problem, but there was a major problem with Pasco County Sheriff where they ended up taking back all the guns because they didn't work.
Wanting to know if you have any info yet on the new 6-hour rifle suppressors.
I have only used once or twice. The biggest problem is I don't have an FFL or an SOT, so I can't just get those things in for review and then take them out and send them back. At some point, I may do that, but I don't right now. So I generally use the suppressors that I have on hand. Now, I know lots of people who use SIG suppressors and they're extremely happy with them. I've never heard a negative word. I only tell you what my experience is. But I will tell you that I've talked to many people about those suppressors, and they're very, very happy with them. I do hope at one point to get my hands on one of them.
How often would you clean a Glock?
I clean mine every time. I take care of my guns, not to mention my carry gun. It's cleaned every single time. Um, any kind of implement that you're using to defend your life, you want to take care of and make sure that it's 100% every time. Um,
And
there are people
I
who
can vouch for him. He cleans them every single time he takes them to the range.
there are people who want to see how long these things can go without cleaning. Well, that's great if you're not going to use it for self-defense. And also, if you want to lower the value of it, and you don't take care of it, it's like not changing the oil in your car, as far as I'm concerned. But in my opinion, you should clean a gun every time that you use it, because the longer you let crap sit, it gets hard. The carbon, everything gets hard. It's harder to clean. So, every time I use it, within a day, usually a day or two.
Is your favorite grip, AR grip, still the Bravo Mod 3?
Oh, it never was Bravo Mod 3. My favorite grip is the Magpul Myad. That is my all-time. I have it on all my go-to guns.
What are your thoughts on the PSA AKV, and what suppressor amount would you put on it? It's 1.5 by 28 with the AK D10, like most AKs.
Well, me and Brandon, we did our video on the AKV. Unfortunately, that damaged some baffles in my my silencer ghost suppressor. So he had done some modifications to his to get it to mount up properly. The gun overall was great. The problem I had was with the suppressor, and he again made some kind of changes because if I recall, the threading was extremely long. So the the suppressor didn't back up to the base. It backed up on the inside thread. So it wasn't really a good situation. So I believe he put some kind of a spacer in there, so the suppressor had something to lean up against to try to keep it concentric. But the gun was great. We did have a little bit of an issue with the suppression.
Hi, Dylan. He said thank you for answering all of his questions during the last Q&A, and the Patreon Q&A. He wanted to know, should I buy a spare AR-10 BCG for SHTF? They are super expensive and don't break as much as, he wants to know if they're they are super expensive. They don't break as much as the 5.56 bolts.
I have to say I've never seen a 308 bolt break. I have had 5.56 bolts break on me. I've never had a 308. It never hurts to have parts, on hand. Make sure that you buy good parts. But I have to say, I've never seen an AR-10 bolt break.
Pistol Pete wants to know: do you for any reason know why DI Optical is no longer available in the States?
They're coming back. There's a new name for the company. I can tell you what it is, and we expect them to be starting to come in very soon. Let me tell you the name of it. I just talked to the gentleman who was doing it. I'm going to get you guys the name of it because it is coming back. GRD, Global Response Defense. Again, Global Response Defense. That will be the new company. It's the same as DI Optical, but the new name for the U.S. market.
Eric on DonorBox, thank you, Eric. He says he is an engineering student of U of H, and many of his essays and projects focus on the operation of the AR platform. You and your writings have been a great source of info,
awesome.
And he says, of course, properly cited. And he says, thank you.
Appreciate it. It is a science, believe it or not. People think this is just a matter of swapping parts and throwing parts together. It's a lot more complicated than that.
He bought a book the other day. It's in our Amazon store. I'll pop the link in there. I know some people have been saying they lost a link for it. We created an Amazon store with different products that Chris recommends, and it's broken down between books and cleaning gear and accessories and things like that. And one of the books that he actually put on the list is he was like, Heather, can you actually order that book for me? I'd like to read
the
it.
new book, the new Misfire book,
Yeah.
the newer one.
And it came in and he was like, oh, look, I'm like cited in like several places here. It always amazes him. Like, yeah, Chris, you would be cited when it comes to that stuff. I'm gonna grab this link and pop it in there for you.
That's the new
I
Misfire
know people.
book.
I have not had a chance to put it on the website yet, so I apologize for that. Can M-LOK be used with M203 grenade launchers, or do they still require 1913 rails?
1913 rails. I would never trust an unlock. I would expect that would break.
Christopher owns our box. Thank you, Christopher. He says, in case I can ask a question here, I just built my first AR. Before I shoot it, is there anything I need to test or check first, such as using a go-no-go gauges?
Well, normally you don't have to use no-go gauges because the part's supposed to be drop-in. I do anyways because I have the gauges. Definitely would make sure that you installed your barrel correctly. Make sure that your bolt, your carry key is on correctly. If hopefully you bought it, it was already staked and everything. Firing pin protrusions is always a good thing to take a look at too if you have the opportunity. Try to make sure your front sight base is not canted, so make sure that it's straight, because there's probably 9 chances out of 10 you don't have a drilled in pin when you probably have one that's put on with set screws. So you need to make sure that that's indexed properly. Those are the main things right there. Make sure you have your hammer and trigger pins installed correctly.
Brian says, hanging out and gaining knowledge here in Bandera, Texas. Where is Bandera? I don't think I've ever. It has to be a small town. I haven't heard of it. Texas is pretty large, though. What do you think of the 6mm ARC?
I don't know yet. I have 2 guns on order right now, and I've had ammunition order for the last 2 months. So as soon as those guns and that ammunition arrive, you'll be getting a video on it. It looks quite impressive, from what's written about it.
Who makes military-grade suppressors for 9mm pistols?
Well, many companies. The U.S. government has bought them from several companies: Silencer Co., Gemtech, AAC. There's a lot of good ones out there. You stay with those top brands. Another good one is Atlas Defense. I mean, I've got thousands of rounds on my Atlas Defense Pilum, and I got thousands of rounds on my Silencer Co's. You stay with a good quality company, you're not going to have any problems. And I really like Silencer Co. because they take good care of their customers. If you had a problem with it, you send it back to them and they take care of it. If you looked at it and refurbished because something's going to come in loose, they do it for no charge. I find companies that I work with well, and I stick with them.
We still are getting so many questions about the What Would Stoner Do rifle. We need to make a video on it. Is it out yet?
I don't know if they're available for sale or not yet. I don't follow it. Like I said, I looked at it, saw what it was. It didn't really interest me. It wasn't anything that I thought. Again, from my studying a stoner my entire life, it just did not seem to me what would stoner do. It looked to me like it was more of a marketing type thing. It was put together by several people.
Oh, they're going to love that opinion.
Well,
you're definitely getting a unbiased.
Stoner has come right out, and he came right out and said, in some of his interviews, that my interest was always in 7.62 guns, not 5.56. And the first thing he did when he went to work with Reed Knight was he brought back his AR-10. He had nothing to do with the SR-15. So, to me, that's a clue. I mean, I
just love how you're not into kissing ass. So
well, no, if I don't think anybody respects me if I disagree with something.
I know. I just think it's funny.
Like I said, Stoner said his own words, not my interpretation. My passion or my interest was always in 7.62 guns, not in 5.56. Yeah,
well, but still, it's hilarious to me when you sometimes I don't think you realize how funny you are. It's like that's why I put the outtakes for the Lorson. If you guys watched the last crime, because it was just like the stuff that just flies out of his mouth. It's the ultimate crap of crap. Just like, oh my God, okay.
Well, Brownells was involved with that, and I absolutely love Brownells. I adore Brownells. They're one of our biggest supporters. They came out with a product that was fine, but it was put on a gun. What would Stoner do? And regardless of how good or bad that stock assembly may be, I don't know. I never used it. That's not, in my opinion, what Stoner would have done.
Mm.
And also, for as far as lightweight, he never made his gun so light that he would risk reliability or durability. So by having such a feather pencil weight barrel on there, that's not something. Stoner made combat weapons. He did not make commercial weapons. He made combat weapons, and that doesn't fit it. What he would do.
Well, and I feel bad for poor Winston here because I didn't even ask his question yet. And that is, what do you think of what would Stoner do rifle? Do you think the quote modern AR have deviated too much from the original concept?
No, you do have some rifles that were designed to be ultra lightweight. Again, when you go ultra lightweight, you sacrifice durability and reliability. And I believe several of these ultra lightweight pencil barrel rifles do that. You get more recoil; it's not as comfortable. The gun beats itself up more. They're more susceptible to heat and failures to extract. They're not the difference between combat weapons and commercial weapons. You're seeing a lot more of these lightweight commercial weapons that are not intended for military use. And again, Stoner designed military grade weapons. He wasn't in the business of making commercial grade weapons, so he made things that were designed to hold up under those kind of circumstances. You see a lot of stuff now that's designed specifically for the commercial market, and that's where it belongs. That's where it should stay.
Bandera apparently is hill country. Chris hasn't been out there yet. I've talked to him
not
about
yet.
going there before, but he was pretty jealous when he found out I went to Lukenbach, though.
Yeah, I'm dying to go there.
It was really cool. Everybody that's not into country or not a Texan, they're like, hell's Lukenbach? Daniel on DonorBox, thank you, Daniel. Would you consider making a video over the JFK documents he posted on Patreon? For everybody who doesn't know, because obviously you're not going to understand that, he had access to the re-examination,
Yes,
essentially, of the JFK.
I was trained partially by the guy who did it,
and yeah, he worked at the crime lab that forensic scientist that was part of that re-examination worked at, and we provided that PDF document to our Patreons. So if you're not a Patreon, you can even I even opened a tier for $1 at somebody's request. So you get unlock some videos and some documents like that we don't provide elsewhere. But go ahead and.
I don't know. For me, I'm not the expert on that. That was the guys who wrote it. The information is all there.
I think it would be interesting because like you had a pretty close relationship with him, and you guys were friends. And
the thing is the information is not as exciting as many people would think that it is. You had 3 bullets that were fired. They were identified, the cartridge cases and bullets. There was no magical. There was no grassy knoll. The actual shot was under 100 yards. Any hunter could have made it. It wasn't some spectacular sniper. It's not nearly as glamorous and as mysterious as everybody seems to think. It's just not as exciting. That's really what it comes down to. And most of the stuff that you're going to see in there is stuff that, unless you were a firearms examiner, you probably wouldn't really get. But
I think it's still going to be interesting. That's always been something that's fascinated people, especially if you're into history.
And then
I'll work on it with as you can see, he's going to say no until I just go, no, we're going to do that. And then, Blake on DonorBox. Thank you, Blake. Biggest underserved market right now besides ammo?
Well, guns. I mean, there's not enough guns that are out there for people to buy. I mean, you still go into these shops and they're empty. Manufacturers are still having hard times putting out guns because of supply issues with parts from subcontractors. A lot of the issues it's not the companies are not making, they're making what they always made, but they're trying to double and triple that because of the market. It's the same thing with the ammunition. Is there an ammunition shortage? No, there's an ammunition demand problem. They're making more ammunition now than they've ever made, and it's still not enough because you have the supply and demand. The prices are up not because of the ammunition manufacturers, but because the dealers are taking advantage of this opportunity, and they're charging people an arm and a leg. So unfortunately, you have 2A who's sort of screwing 2A by jacking up those prices like that because the distributors, I know several of them, their margins stay the same. They don't go up with the supply and demand. Their prices come in at a certain thing. If they go up, it's because they're being charged more from the manufacturer. So the gouging is not coming from distribution; it's coming from retail.
Patrick on Donor Box. Thank you, Patrick. He says, I love your content. Looking for an AR-10 for these crazy times. So wanted to get your opinion. LMT, KAC, Noveski, or something else?
Well, you guys all know me. I'm an LMT person through and through. If you're willing to spend the money, that kind of money, I can't justify spending it on something, on a rifle that has half the modularity. I mean, when you can have one rifle that you can swap out barrels, calibers, and pretty soon you're going to be seeing new operating system too. You're going to see external piston coming out in the 308 because LMD did it for Estonia, and I've heard possibly first quarter next year. When you have all this modular benefit and all these things, I can't justify spending more money for a gun that does for guns that do less.
Do you think H&K is going through any problems? I haven't seen any new rifle products.
Well, H&K pretty much, probably one of the newest things that they've done was the HK433 because they're competing for the Bundeswehr contract. They're busy making their 416s for some military contracts. Pistol market has pretty much been. They didn't really show. They didn't show anything really at the SHOT Show. Not that they did. If I recall, SHOT Show, they primarily showed the SP5 and they showed the, I think it was the HK416 and 22 long rifle that was made by Umarex, I think. But I don't know if it's a money issue or if it's just a production issue, or there really is not anything at the moment that they're really working on. I mean, they've had a lot of problems financially. They were just bought. I'm trying to remember who the company was. I think it might have been a British company. I'm not sure. They've had a lot of money problems. I think a lot of it has to do with their pricing structures. When you make great guns, but you charge so much, and I also think the German government doesn't help for as far as their exports, because the U.S. is certainly one of the largest markets in the world outside of military for the commercial market, and you have a combination of German export laws plus, of course, the 922R and the U.S. import bans, which make it a little bit more difficult. The guns they're making here in the U.S. Are just astronomically priced. It just can't make money. I mean, you have the best mousetrap in the world, but if nobody can afford it, what really good is it?
Wouldn't it be cheaper not to include the notch in the barrel for the M203 for the civilian market? Does the notch affect our harmonics, and does it weaken the barrel?
It does weaken the barrel because that is going to be your weak spot because of the heat dispersion. It's on there because people like it. It looks like the original government M4. And I think that's why you still see it. That's when you hear government profile barrel, that's what they show. There are companies now who have made SOCOM barrels where they've gotten rid of the slots, which is a damn good thing because, again, that was a failure point in the SOCOM barrel because, again, you have that's a change in thickness and as far as how the heat distributes. So yes, it does cause issues. Does it cause accuracy issues? Not really. It just causes heating issues. It's not necessary, but people want it. If you were to show somebody both barrels and somebody just, hey, that one looks cool, that one looks more like the government M4, I think we'll buy that. That's one of those. It's like a forward assist. Is it necessary? No, but people want it because the U.S. government has it.
Don't forget to hit the thumb, guys. There's almost 300 people in here. How many companies in the U.S. make BCGs?
I can't tell you for sure. Your main two who make them for the industry is going to be Toolcraft and Microbest. Microbest being the top one. You do have companies like LMT who make their own. I do believe Diamondback makes their own. I do believe LWRC makes their own. There are some companies that make their own, but they don't sell them. But your main two that are bought by most of the top tier companies, Microbest probably being number one and Toolcraft being number two.
This is an interesting question. What do you think the market for tactical type arms and ammos will look like in 6 months?
That all depends on the election.
It depends on so many things.
I did hear that that Biden stuck his head up out of his basement there. He saw a shadow. It meant 4 more years of Trump.
Did you come up that?
No, that was a meme I saw on Facebook.
You got to stop hitting the desk.
Sorry.
Your whole screen.
I think it's all going to depend on, first off, the election, and second of all, if we are still in the civil unrest that we're in right now, because it's not.
Yeah, I think it's going to be better.
It's not getting any better right now.
I don't think it's going to get any better. I think right before the election is going to be even worse.
Yeah.
People are going to be freaking out even more. Any thoughts on the Ruger AR-556?
You know, I got one of the the SR-556s when they first came out, and you know, it was decent. The machining on it was terrible. The bolt carrier, although I love chrome, it looked like it was made in a high school machine shop with all the tool marks that were on it. Then I got sent out the Ruger that was the takedown rifle, and I had failures to extract. I never could get one round out of it. They were supposed to send it back to me. They never did. And ever since then, I've not had any attacks at Ruger to get any of the newer products. I do because I want to get the AR-57. I'm sorry, the SR-57 pistol. They're a 5.7x28 pistol. I've been dying to get my hands on one of those. So at SHOT Show this year, if it still happens, these are some of the companies I need to get media contacts so I know who to try to get parts from and get guns from. I do want to. I've wanted to for quite some time. I've tried getting a hold of somebody in marketing there. I've had no luck. So hopefully after SHOT Show, I'll be able to get my hands on some of them. And hopefully they're still being made, especially if Pelosi decides she's going to be president until they sort out the issues with who won the presidency, because it looks like no one's going to concede that night.
Really?
Yeah.
2020 is just the most amazing.
I don't
year,
think. I think regardless of what wins, it's going to be questioned because of the mail-in system. People are going to be questioning the validity and recounting, making sure that people are dead, not dead. And, it's going to be a complete nightmare.
Well, didn't I read too that Texas is opening up polling like sooner and stuff like that? I don't know. That might be a good answer too, instead of having it over, a shorter span of time, having it over a longer span of time where you have, you don't have accumulations of large people, waiting up. I mean, we've never really run into anybody when we've voted.
No,
it's a very quick process.
The same thing in Rochester when we was there. I never really had the issues.
I mean, and Chris hasn't gone to SHOT Show for the last 2 years because of his health and everything, and his health isn't, necessarily any better. But he's already booked to stay at the Venetian, and so that he's close and he doesn't have to travel far in, and he can go take breaks if he needs to. He was even going to pull me along and make me go and properly film so that he's not doing it the way we used to do it. So yeah, I guess we're going to see what happens with that, because that is a very large show. But yeah, I'm ready for this to be over. I'm ready for life to get normal again. Okay, let's see. People are down for the JFK video. They want to see it.
As I said, I'm not a particular expert on that video.
Yeah, you didn't want to do the M14 either, and look at that. Getting through all the comments and stuff with people talking. And some repeat questions. Do you prefer an AR pistol or a standard size AR for... Oh, we did this one, right? The SHTF rifle?
No.
Okay. Do you prefer an AR pistol or a standard size AR for an I can't even talk. SHTF rifle? Also, do you prefer EOTech or aim point red dot?
I would never take an AR pistol under any conditions unless it had a 10.5-inch barrel or more. In that case, I have SBR, so I would take the SBR over it. So not the pistol, and the barrel length would be a minimum of 10.5. Between EOTech and aim point, I use more aim points than I do EOTechs. There's no reason for that. It just happens to be that I have more of them, and I have more of them on rotation. And especially right now, I'm testing some new stuff. I just got one of the new Leopold red dots in. I've got some new stuff coming in from Vortex, so I'm using more of the other stuff. Both of those optics are excellent. One's a holograph and one's a red dot. I mean, so it just depends on what you like. One of the nicer things generally about the EOTech is you have a wider screen than you do with the EOTech, usually, because the EOTech my brain's not working right now. Then the aim point usually gives you basically like a scope where you don't have as much field, your field of vision is more restricted than with the EOTech. I guess it really comes down to whatever works best for you.
Okay, so back to JFK. Daniel on Donor Box says, no question, just a comment. And I agree with him. I've already read it. He says, when it comes to a possible JFK video, I think there are a lot of people like me who won't sit and read that whole document. But I would gladly listen to Chris sum it up for me in a 10 to 20-minute video. He is underestimating the interest in that still remains in regards to that assassination. I think it could be a big video in terms of views. He did a 1913 rail video, which I enjoyed, and surely JFK is more interesting than that. I agree. And also because of Chris's experience as a forensic scientist for so many years in the industry and, um, being colleagues, a guy who worked on the re-examination, um, I think it would be phenomenal. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that Chris is going to do it because I can do
No,
that.
also, I understand what you're saying about not wanting to read the whole thing, but I have to tell you that the truth is in the details. That document, there's many issues that you talk about. Talking about the gun, the ammunition, why you had the over penetration, then of course the way his head went back. And also you have the issues of how far away, and then you have the terminal performance. Then you have the history of what types of ammunition was used. The truth is in the details. It is the details, which is what puts all this stuff together. It's an overwhelming amount of evidence. And that's generally why it's good to read that document, is because there is a lot of details in there which supports what actually happened versus what all these conspiracy theorists want to say happened.
So the gentleman in here asking if the guy who worked on it is still alive. No, he was older at the time that.
I'm not sure if Monty's still alive or not.
No.
I lost track of Monty after I left Wisconsin in 2000.
I'm pretty sure I remember you saying he passed away, and also at the time that you had that job, which was, God, 20 years ago, he was well into his late.
He just retired. He was in his 60s.
Yeah, he was in his late 60s. So that would put him about 90 right now.
I can't say for sure that he's passed or not. I don't know. I don't have any way of getting a hold of him. In fact, the gentleman who I used to work with, who was close friends with him, he hasn't been able to find him in quite some time either. So I'm not sure.
Alive? He's saying alive and in Wisconsin.
Yeah, he was right in Milwaukee. He lived in a beautiful lakeside high rise on Lake Michigan there.
But I understand what Daniel's saying. People like us will to get into history and read that kind of stuff, but even still, you get lost in it, or your attention you're looking to find something out about a certain topic or how to work something or opinion on it. You tend to go to YouTube or any kind of video platform in order to watch something quick and figure something out. And I do think it could be a really good video where you're just basically clearing up and reiterating information in a way that people can understand and find some interest in.
It is, the information there is very technical. I mean, it's something that somebody who's in the field would understand. It's not so much of a layperson in a lot of it. It's a lot of it's not what you would call common sense. There's a lot of things like the magic bullet theory that people thought was bullshit, where anybody who's really had a lot of experience with bullets and wounds realizes that bullets become unstable and they can do a lot of very strange things. A lot of you guys have heard of stories in Vietnam about the 5.56 hitting a Viet Cong in the ankle, traveling up his leg and blowing out his thoracic cavity. That would be considered a magic bullet too. These things do happen, and they did happen. But again,
yes, but just the way you enunciate your words when you say that so eloquently, people enjoy that in a video. No, I think we definitely will be doing a video on it. I think it would be seen. I can see your face. He's like, great.
I'm looking at it involuntary. She speaks.
Sometimes I have to, though, in order to get stuff, because stuff that I like, the crime series, he didn't want to do. The video, you guys know, he definitely didn't want to do anything on the M14, and those are some of our best videos, some of the most watched. The video on the most watched video, I think that's still to Vietnam, but I don't know. The M14 as okay. So think about it like this: the M14 video you didn't want to do. That's our most watched video. Isn't it like over 500,000 views? It's something crazy now.
Yeah, of course I get insulted heavily on those.
Yeah, but people still watch it. The second highest is what happened in Vietnam. What happened with M16 in Vietnam?
That was the Brett M9.
And but that video, he didn't want to make the Vietnam video either. Remember, you said nobody wants to listen to me drone on about this. Remember you saying that? So I mean, like the proof is in the pudding. You have to listen. Could a Colt 5.56 magazine be the cause of a bolt failing to lock back after the last round fired?
Yeah, if you have an issue with your spring, it's not pushing the ass end of the follower up in time. Also, if you have an undergassed rifle where your bolt's not going back far enough, that could be an issue as well.
Do heavier bullets behave more predictably?
Behave more predictably in flight. They tend to be better. Predictability when bullets hit flesh is not. There are so many variables: angles for the bullets, the shape of the bullet, the weight of the bullet, the length of the bullet, the gyroscopic stability of the bullet. There's not a lot of predictability on bullets hitting targets. You can get a little bit more predictability when you talk about hydrostatic shock, because regardless of where that hits, you're gonna have that hydraulic push of fluids. But you don't have. I mean, I had a case in New York where a guy shot his wife in the head with a 38 special snub nose. The bullet deflected off of her skull. Who in a million years would have thought you have something that's only a couple inches away from somebody's head straight on and it deflects? Predictability is there as much. You can have data that can support that if it does this, this will happen. But predictability on terminal is very, very difficult because there are so many. There's so many factors that go into it.
They're laughing because I'm giving you a hard time.
Hmm.
I have to after 23 years. He thinks that there wouldn't even be a channel had I not forced it on him. And then even beyond that, I had tried for years, even before we actually started the channel. And
we could never done this in New York.
Yeah, but besides that, if you wouldn't have fell from that tree and broke your back and he still gets the questions every day. What are you wearing from the old videos where he's in the brace? There wouldn't be a channel because that forced you to actually sit and talk because that's really all you could do at that point.
Speaking of comments, people, I wear ear protection every time I shoot. I have earplugs in my ears. They're my old 1991 USGI issue earplugs that are in my ears. I have never shot or gone to the range and not used hearing protection. Every day, I seem like I get people who are making comments. This guy doesn't wear hearing protection. Yes, I do. I'm deaf, yes, but I wear hearing protection every time.
In fact, he just had me order him new headphones because he said he's sick of wearing his in-ear, and everybody says, "Man, you're like hardcore because you shoot without ear protection." He always wears it. Patrick on Donor Box. Thank you, Patrick. Chris, given the scarcity of LMTs 308s at the moment, what are your thoughts on Daniel Defense 308s for the same money as a used LMT?
Daniel Defense makes a beautiful rifle. If you're looking for a rifle that you're going to stay with one barrel and you want to leave it the way it is, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But if you look at the money, you look at that compared to a new LMT, you're looking at a rifle that you can have multiple barrels. It does that much more. I'd rather spend the same amount of money on a rifle that does more. But again, if you're not interested in that at all, there's absolutely nothing wrong. Daniel Defense is a beautiful rifle, but if you're going to stay with one caliber, you're not going to have the ability to swap out.
Is 11.5 really that much better than 10.5? A lot of losers like to argue over this.
Yes, sir. The longer that system remains pressurized, the smaller the gas port you got to use. The smaller the gas port you got to use, the less of the less of the bolt velocity. So absolutely. In fact, if Colt had their way, they never would have produced a 10.5 for commercial or law enforcement use. They would have just stuck with them for the military applications. There's absolutely no benefit over the shorter barrel. The longer barrel you go, the better the gun's going to be, the better off the gun's going to be. People want the 10.5 because of the Mark 18 and SOCOM used it. But, if you were looking for one for real world use, you would want the 11.5 inch or 12.5 inch if you could get it over the 10.5 or 10.3.
If you're competent and have the tools and skill, why buy an AR when you build one?
Well, it's not so much just having the tools. It's you're going to be buying a whole bunch of parts that come from a whole bunch of different companies that you're going to put them all together and hope that they're all going to work together, that they're all within some kind of a tolerance or spec that's not out there. You buy a rifle that comes from SIG, from Glock, or SIG, from Colt, from HK. The parts are all made in-house to specifications, and you know that the gun's going to work. because that company is maintaining control over all those parts. They're made to a drawing. They all fit within a plus or minus, so all the parts will work together. You take a gamble every time that you build a gun from all these different pieces from all these different companies, who not one of them has the actual TDP. It's all them reverse engineering and building up their own. So you're taking a much more of a risk of having a rifle that's not going to work by putting one together versus buying one from a company that they make all those parts, they do all the testing, they're designed for military use, they're gassed everything properly, so it will work in all temperature ranges. They're designed for combat use, such as a drilled and pin gas block, and they've gone through the military testing, so what the quality of it is.
Eric on Donor Box says, "Sir, we would watch a series on why the lugs of a bolt are the degree they are and the history behind it. Don't sell yourself short on what you make interesting."
Say that question again.
It's not a question.
Okay.
He said he would watch a series on why the lugs of a bolt are the degree they are and the history behind it. Just basically, if you were the one making the video. And I haven't even told Chris this, but we are actually getting a new mic.
We are?
Yeah, we are. I'm looking at them right now.
Interesting.
So hopefully that will make even the JFK video even better.
Fortunately, all the photographs that we have for that are not very good, so they're hard to see and hard to understand.
Well, and somebody else commented too about how, you break it down in a way that people can understand more. Thank you. I think that's a ghost flying. Best scope magnification for an LMT with a 20-inch plus 6.5 Creedmoor barrel. Brand recommendations and why?
Well, I just tested a CMMG on Monday, and I had I think it was a 2-17. It was the U.S. Optics. Because that rifle's capable of 1,000 yards, I would certainly go out to a 17 to 24 to 32 power, because you have a cartridge that's capable of doing it. U.S. Optics is awesome. Vortex, some of their higher end razors are awesome. Some of the Leopolds are certainly excellent as well. And of course, depending on how much money you want to spend, do a lot with the SIG optics. Some of the higher power SIG optics. I'm quite fond of Vortex. I have a couple of their razors on my LMT, and on a couple other ones. They're awesome. The quality of the glass. And whatnot. And I use the spur mounts on all my highest end stuff. I'll see spur mounts.
People are very excited about the new mic. Somebody said, "Thank Jesus." We had a good mic, but it's not good enough, for what we do. And mics are 500 and up. And we don't really make any money from YouTube. Our ad revenue is about $150 a month, and that's Chris makes big videos, and it's a lot of videos, and we don't really make a lot of money. So the only time we ever make money is from Patreon or from like tonight, or if people want to donate to the channel. That's how we continue to move forward. So if anyone is in a place to be able to do that, we certainly appreciate that and use that and put that to service. I know that I'd also like to upgrade the lighting too. So yeah. I'm excited. I'm also a little apprehensive because I know it's going to be a whole, thing to learn.
Learning curve.
Just like everything else, I'll go to YouTube to figure it out. Let's see. For us SIG 516 Gen 2 owners, since SIG abandoned that platform, what parts are proprietary that we might need to replace later that we might not be able to find? And also, do I need to break in the barrel?
No, I need to break in the barrel. I have a SIG Gen 2 myself. The only parts would be anything in the gas system. Any parts that you can get from the gas system, the bolt carrier, you're never gonna have any problems with. They use a standard AR bolt. That was the beauty of the SIG system. That was one of the reasons. That's one of the improvements that came out of the HK 416 when the guy from Germany went over to SIG and met up with Chris Royce in building a better rifle. That was one of the first part, was to make parts compatibility with the AR-15, because if you were to go out and buy an HK 416 and parts went bad and HK didn't have them, you were screwed. So that parts commonly, the parts that you really need to concentrate on, anything that has to do with the gas system, op rods, any of that stuff that goes along there would be where I would be looking to get extra spare parts for.
I said they didn't know that they were that expensive. But yeah, the mic we have is $150 mic. I mean, it's not like it's, then plus we have mics for Q&As and stuff like that. So yeah, it's expensive to run these channels, especially gun channels that don't really make anything. Are you still a fan of the LWRC Reaper?
Yeah, absolutely. That's another one of those really, really, really expensive guns I just couldn't justify buying. I've tested them on several occasions, Small Arms Review, Small Arms Defense Journal, as well as I did a video on one a couple of years ago. And they're accurate as hell. They're very, very well made. I've been trying to get one of their 6.5 Creedmoors with a proof barrel. I just haven't been able to get one. LWRC, no matter what they make, they do an excellent job. Attention to detail, and that's a company that makes all their parts in-house, including their barrels. That's what makes them so good, is because they can maintain control. They have less reliance on subcontractors.
Ed on DonorBox, thank you, Ed. He said, how can I purchase the Colt SOCOM barrel for my civilian M4, or do you recommend a better substitute?
Well, SOCOM barrel, if you can find them, they're occasionally on Brownells. You just got to catch them. Colt has been releasing things. Bonnie LeClaire's got SOCOM. It's got 14.5-inch SOCOM barrels, SOCOM profile barrels. Just Google them. You can find them. Just depends on. I would avoid the gun brokers and stuff like that, because you're gonna pay an arm and a leg. But you will see companies come up with them. And of course, probably the better one you're going to find is going to be the Centurion, because it's going to be a Colt hammer forged barrel with a chrome plating, which is better than what Colt's putting out for as far as the durability. Now, again, the Colt one probably be a little bit more accurate because the button rifled barrels tend to give you slightly better accuracy. But unless you're really off of a bench with the best of everything, you're not really going to see that. But if you can get yourself a Colt hammer forged one, that's the way to go. The chrome plated barrel.
What pistol should James Bond have carried?
A Beretta 85 or a Beretta 84F. You like 380s? The Beretta 84F would have been perfect with a 13-shot capacity, more reliable than the Walther, and it doesn't pitch the back of your hand if you got big hands.
That's like a whole video right there.
Yeah. Well, you will be seeing one. William Michiko is going to be loaning me a PPKS, so we're going to do a little bit of a James Bond tribute to that one.
Oh, that's right. We did talk about that.
Yeah,
we did, because in my brain, I want to play around with him being like James Bond and like kind of
all ugly, but James Bond. You gotta be kidding me.
I think it'd be hilarious. Sean said James Bond should have carried an 84 FS Cheetah DS 380.
That's the one we just noticed that exactly.
Someone's asking when the next book is coming along. Come on, Chris, share that knowledge.
No, not anytime soon, that's for sure.
Thoughts on BCM rifles?
BCM rifles, I've had 2 of them in the past. I've been very, very happy with them. I've been trying to get some over the last couple of years, and I've had no luck. The last time I reached out to Eric was right when this pandemic hit, and of course they were too busy producing rifles for sale that he doesn't know when he's going to be able to get me any. But the rifles that I have tested have been very, very, very well made.
They want to see you in a tux in the video.
Don't have one.
No, I said we could do like a white shirt with like just a tux thing like open, and I'll get a green.
I thought my New York
I would get
as attractive as
I would buy a green screen just so that I could play with graphics and make it fun, because I think it's important too for them to see that you really are a playful human being and not just the serious guy that you see. They said even better Austin Powers. That would be hilarious. He would love that too. Personal lab coat on a tux. A tux t-shirt. Yes, see? The guys are helping me out. Look how quick he was to get out of that. Oh, don't have one. I'm like, oh, Amazon. I'm sure I can order that on Amazon. He loves to tell me I'm single-handedly keeping them in business. Chris, do you have any primers left over from your reloading days I can buy?
No, that stuff was gone before I left New York. I haven't reloaded in probably 12 years, 13 years.
God, it's probably
Well,
been longer than that.
that's Wisconsin 2005. So yeah, 2005 was the last time I ever reloaded.
No, it was 2004.
2004. Yeah, that's when I stopped doing it. It was my arthritis and everything started catching up, and then of course started to do this. Then I got manufacturers to send me ammunition, so I didn't have to reload. And again, I couldn't. I'd like to now. In fact, I just got some reloading dies and everything for 5.45 because Hornady now is making brass case 5.45 cartridge cases, and I wanted to load up some with American propellants and everything. And Brandon's going to be helping me with that. Brandon from the gun room in Shenandoah. So that's something we got coming up in the future as well.
What is your opinion on a set-me PTR versus an AR-10, or any other recommendations besides the coveted foul for the good semi-auto 308?
I'm going to always tell you 308. The 308, the AR-10 and 308, that was it was ahead of its time. It was too new. Where the FAL and the G3 were more they were more in line with what people expected. The AR-10 was always a better rifle. It just didn't have time to be. It didn't have time to be modernized and all the bugs, the kinks worked out. There was no development program for it by the time the M14 program, plus all the politics. But it was always a better system.
Since the gas tube is the fuse of an AR-15, is a melanite treated gas tube a good idea?
It's only the fuse on a 20-inch barrel. It is not the fuse on the carbines. The carbines, the barrels will blow before the gas tubes will on a properly made mil-spec gas tube. Gas tubes are one of those things that a lot of manufacturers are buying, and they don't buy the mil-spec ones. So you will have, a gas tube will fail within three magazines on full auto. It'll curl up. That's not a mil-spec gas tube. A true mil-spec gas tube on an M4 carbine will last will not last as long as the barrel will blow before the gas tube will. On a 20-inch barrel standard, yes, the gas tube will go before. It was designed that way on the 20-inch barrels. You have to keep in mind, Stoner designed the AR-15. He did not design the carbine. So the two rifles, they're very different in the way the gas systems work. So having the melanite, that would help corrosion, but for as far as its heat treating and how, no, I don't think it will make any difference at all. The finish you put on it, it's the material.
Any thoughts on the Aimpoint Pro?
Yes, I'm quite fond of it. I have one. Aimpoint doesn't put out anything that's garbage. Everything that they put out is really good. I've been messing around with that stuff for quite some time. Unfortunately, it's not one of those companies that I haven't been able to get any of their newer products. The stuff I have is all 5+ years old. That's another company that I need to follow up with SHOT Show to try and get some of their newer stuff, like Trigicon. Trigicon, you call there, I can't get anybody on the line because they say they're closed unless you have an actual extension. They won't put you in contact. They said we're a closed facility, so I can't even talk to anybody at Trigicon.
Oh, today is Nick's birthday. Happy birthday,
Happy birthday.
Nick. Mine was what, last week?
Yep.
Yeah, we had big plans, and then 2 hurricanes were headed this way. So I kind of like, yeah, I've already been through a hurricane on my birthday before. I don't know. 762-308 30 06 30-06 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 Grendel. Which one would you pick for hunting and long range precision shooting? And should I look for gas or bolt action?
Well, for long range precision shooting, the 6.5 Creedmoor is definitely better than anything that any of those that are listed. The 30-06, could sort of somewhat give it a run for its money, but not really. For as far as the hunting end of it's concerned, it depends on what you're hunting. I have a friend out here who went out hunting with a 6.5 Grendel. Now, those of you who are from upstate New York or from the north up there, the deer down here are like fawns compared to what we have up there in New York. They're much smaller down here. He shot with a 6.5 Creedmoor, and the damage he did to the meat was unbelievable. To the point where I told Daniel that no, I would not recommend you using the 6.5 Creedmoor on whitetail, especially with the ammunition that you're using. He would have been better off with a 308 or a 30-06. Now, if you're going for something larger, like a real deer, like we have in upstate New York, larger or a larger game, the 6.5 Creedmoor is ideal. But for as far as the accuracy is concerned, even the military has been saying that anything the 308 can do or 30-06, the 6.5 Creedmoor can do better. Now, for as far as semi versus bolt, that's totally up to you. Some of the groups that I've been seeing with my LMT and this CMMG I just shot here, where you're looking at groups that are just around a half MOA. I can't see any benefit to having a bolt action over a semi-automatic. You're getting the same kind of accuracy, but you're getting the quicker follow-up shots with the semi-automatic. So it's whatever you like, but I don't know. The more and more I've been messing with the Creedmoor, the more and more I'm starting to really favor it.
Why do you think our deer are so small down here?
I don't know. It's
My philosophy is that Texans probably shoot a lot more and kill a lot more deer.
I think it could be just the environment. I mean, it's a much more rich environment up there for as far as apple trees and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but I don't know. It's maybe the deer. Maybe they just eat better. I don't know.
They have grass that hasn't been killed off by heat indexes. It's been like 115 heat index.
The droughts they have here.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
They're dying of starvation.
But up there, I mean, you have all those apple trees and stuff. I mean, like I said, I've seen deers that look like freaking.
Yeah, we used to have them come in our backyard when we lived in New York.
The ones here, I look at them, and the first time I saw some pictures of my buddy who shot his deer, it's like, what the hell are you killing a fawn for? It's not a fawn.
That's a full size. Okay. It's like, when you go to Mexico and the chickens are a lot smaller, they're a lot thinner. Yeah. Whereas our chickens up here, we pump them through so much feed that they're not even supposed to eat just to get them fat. In Mexico, you see a real chicken and you're like, oh, is that what it's supposed to look like? Christopher on Dunnerbox. What do you think of Spike's Tacticals AR?
I've never had access to one of their complete guns. I've had access to some of their parts. The guy that I knew there, I could never get any T&E guns out of them. I had tried in the past, so I guess I can't answer that because that's not one of those companies I was just never able to get anything out of to do T&Es on.
We're going to get a few more questions. What's your favorite non-automatic rifles and non-automatic pistols?
Don't have any. Everything I have are semi-automatic. I don't own any bolt actions or anything. If I had to say favorite handgun, it'd probably be a real Colt Python, not one of those new ones, but a real Colt Python. And as far as bolt actions, I don't have anything like that. And I never had any interest in it. Everything the way I always shot, I never wanted anything like that.
These guys are giving me such good ideas for this James Bond video. One says, get a cold beer, not a martini.
Yeah, Lone Star.
Any experience with rugged suppressors?
With what?
Rugged suppressors.
No, sir. Never heard of them.
Thoughts on the Adams Arms piston kits?
They're certainly common. People use them a lot. I don't like the fact that you can't that they're not drilled and pinned, especially an external piston where you have something going back and forth and it's hitting. It's a problem I have with it. When you buy factory, rifles from Adams Arms, they're drilled and pinned. When you buy the kits, you can't pin them. They're held in by 2 bolts. Again, I'm going to have one here hopefully tomorrow night. I got one from Core 15. They use Adams Arms piston kit, and I plan on doing a lot of messing around with that over the next several months.
If you were exiled from Texas, where would you go? No, that's a legit question here. He said, don't say New York.
Probably Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is where my family's from.
Well, what he would do is, the first thing he would do is he would create a map and he would organize them by gun-friendly states. Yeah. And he would move to the one that was number 2.
And if I had to leave Texas, I would never feel safe again. For as far as gun, if I lost those freedoms here, there's no stronghold in the United States anything like it is here.
Well, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Hopefully we will see you next week. Christopher.
Thank you very much. And we got some good stuff coming. We've had some family emergencies here and haven't had a chance to film. We hope to over the next couple of days, but please be patient with us.
That's an ongoing situation. So yes, please be patient and understanding. But when we can do that, we will definitely be doing that, and hopefully with a new mic. So we'll see you guys soon.
Good night.